back in studio. It's been a couple weeks, maybe
maybe a month.
a month. Podcast 65, 4? 64. Well, we've done a few of them so far.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody earlier today about being kind of excited for this year's podcast. Trying to get more people on. Not only team members, but just hunting industry people that we know, friends, family, all that good stuff.
That's right. And I think we're going to start that at the Deer Classic. We're going to try to get a few people in the booth. We're going to have this set up there, and hopefully we get some familiar faces and names on here. So.
Yeah, I think that's when we're going to really start going at it. Is not long stream for podcast. That's still that 30 minutes or so, and I have a pretty short attention span.
Yeah, so do I. And you guys are probably tired of hearing what we're doing all the time, but it's we're trying to talk about stuff that's relevant to the season. And now deer season is over.
Yep.
We're kind of looking at the future and planning ahead. We got that domain seed ordered. Got some switchgrass. We're trying to get our properties all lined up for the 2025 deer season.
Seems like you get maybe a couple weeks of not thinking about deer because you're burned out, and then after that it's right back to deer again.
And I sold my farm, bought a new one, and now I got the Hunt Stand app. I got everything kind of mapped out, like eventually this is where the house is going to go, this is where we're going to have switch screening, here's a food plot here, here's a food plot here, I need to do the fence. So I got a lot on the plate now, and kind of going back to the year and a half when I purchased the other farm and got that set up. That was fun, but man, I did a ton of work into that. So now going forward, looking at this farm, like this will be the forever farm. This is where the house is going to go. It's Jesse and I went and walked it today, and it's going to be a fun adventure, and hopefully we can document that a little bit better than the other one. Maybe have a YouTube show or something on that episode or two.
Yeah, I've kind of thought about that too. I did a lot of stuff on mine this last year. A lot of it wasn't me. I wasn't able to plant all the switchgrass and the CRP, and wasn't able to do the big dirt work. We did a little bit of food plots and stuff like that, but I think now that some of the stuff is more established and this is where this has to go, this is done, and having a complete year of it, just me on the farm, owning it, being able to do what I want to do, and hunting it a lot this year, I think I've got a pretty good game plan of what I want to do to.
And there's always something to do on the farm, whether you have 10 acres or whether you have 40 acres or 400 acres. It seems like there's always something you can do different or try to do something a little different, whether you're putting in the earth pond, or you're making a pond bigger, or you're putting a food plot here. There's always something. You're putting apple trees up. It's always fun, and it's always challenging. And I don't know how the guys that have a couple hundred acres, how they can actively manage everything. I don't think they can. Unless they're paying someone to do it.
Yeah, I think at some point there's a fine line to just, hey, this is how the farm is.
Yeah,
and I think that's more of it. Like, we look at it as we have little slices, and we're trying to take every single square foot and make it as good as it possibly can be, whether it's for you with your, this is where the house is going to go, this is what I want my yard, and this is what my view for this is, or for the wildlife, as for deer, go here, like my stuff down south, I've sat multiple times and had coveys of quail all over me, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like that, seeing those quail come in was like,
it's what you're doing is actually working, and watching the wildlife just watching from a tree stand or blind, it's just cool to see how they interact, and they're here because I did this. I changed this row crop and put it in the prairie or CRP. And that's a rewarding thing to actually see it. And moving forward as we do this, if we could document it, it's tough because we're always doing the work, running chainsaws on the tractor. Like, it's so hard to document, and we need to do a better job than that on our YouTube page. And it's really neat to see,
Right. I watch videos of people doing stuff all the time.
I love it. There's a guy, if you are listening to this, and I hope you guys are, Arms Family Homestead on YouTube.
Okay.
He's a hunter. He's got his own homestead. He's got goats, and we love watching him. We love watching. He fishes all the time. He's rebuilding his pond right now, his bass pond,
Okay.
and it's really cool seeing them do all the dirt work. He's trapping coyotes. You know, him and Houston shot a couple deer. It's just really cool watching that. And he retired as I think he was a deputy or highway patrolman of, 20 some years. He retired, now he does the YouTube thing full time and he
Okay.
collaborates with other people. But it's just cool watching them do their land stuff and hey, I'm gonna end up doing this or I'm gonna do that, and you got an idea for a pond for your place, and it's just kind of what's the next step, and you kind of got to break it off, year to year, have your goals. Like this year, okay, I'm gonna have X amount of money to do this, or I'm not gonna have any money and I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this type of thing. So
Yep, and that's kind of where I'm sitting at is, what do I want to task for the year? And I don't know, I think there's gonna be a lot of trees get put in. I got a couple spots where it's not so much hunting wise, it's habitat. It's not for, I'm putting this in to hunt here or that, this needs to be covered, this is screening for, so the deer feel comfortable, for the pheasants, and whatever it may be. I have a lot of dead space in certain spots that won't take much to really take off and actually do good for the farm.
And people listening to this, planting trees, it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. Like
No.
you can go to the state nursery and they do. Did you buy any trees last
I
year?
bought 50 oak trees, swamp white oaks, because so I have 40 acres and a lot of it's CRP that I can't do anything in. But I have waterways that are not in the CRP that are typically have moisture. So I'm like, this is gonna be perfect, 5, 10, 15 years down the road.
So you planted 100 trees in there, or was
I think I put 50 of them up in there.
seedlings, or what were they?
They were 18 inches tall,
Okay.
something like
And
that.
it's cheap to buy. How much?
They were all 50% off on the DNR website.
Yeah. And so saying
Under
that,
$100.
Yeah, if you guys want to start planting these trees, it's a cheap route to go.
Ship it right to your house.
Even if 10% of those trees live, because you're gonna have deer, you're gonna have rabbits, and all the wildlife in there.
Yeah,
You have 10%. That's you get one giant oak in 100 years.
yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
And then like I did a lot of replanting of red osier dogwood last year. Went and cut some from a place,
Taking cuttings.
and put them in. And I walked it a little bit after, when the season was kind of going down, and there were some, I'm like, well, I know we planted a whole bunch here and I didn't see any, but the grasses are, is growing up. But I did see some that were predominant there and were had sprouted a little bit. So, and that's just something I'll do every year. I have one finger that's kind of what I want to do, is have the whole finger of this red osier dogwood where it will kind of grow up. It'll do everything for it, because I can't really do anything else there.
Yeah, and
It's-
that's good for the quail.
Right,
They'll
right.
absolutely use that.
Yep.
If you do some edge feathering, once your CRP is established, they absolutely love that too.
Yep.
And there's a lot of different things we can do for wildlife, and that's my thing is like, I want my place to be a complete wildlife sanctuary. Sure, am I gonna shoot a few deer on it? Of course, I wanna do food plots and stuff, but I wanna have, fox, squirrels, whatever, everything running through there,
Yep.
and hopefully some big deer.
Right, and like I said, going back to mine again, this is having it be a year and realizing, okay, I need more of this. I don't need that, and whatever I can do to help push that farther. Like I was abundantly short on food this year. It was just after the rut
And
hit,
it's gonna get worse because you're
fall
gonna
off.
have
More
bedding
deer.
in there, and you're gonna have way more deer.
and I'm figuring out, okay, so like I bought some domain seed. What was that sorghum sunflower mix? That Dirty Bird? Is that what it's
yeah,
called?
that sounds right.
So, like I said, it's in the CRP program, but I have waterways that are not. Well, I can go in there and plant this, and all the stuff in there. Yeah, the deer will eat it, but it's the quail will probably use it way more. The pheasants will use it way more.
It's just added food to your property.
It's more tonnage that I can add to my property that isn't a straight up food plot.
And the deer will smash sunflowers.
Right.
I've
Yep.
planted sunflower fields, and they come up, and the stalks are about like a baseball bat, and they're eating gone. So I mean, it's good that you're putting more food, trying to retain more deer, and moving forward, next year you probably have something different you want to do. And
Yep. It just tweaks, tweak stuff like, you sit there in the blind and you're like, okay, I like this, but I think I'm gonna do this. Like I have a big clover plot, it's probably 3/4 of an acre, and I'm actually gonna shrink it to put in grain. I had like a 1/4 acre of beans and 3/4 acres of clover, I'm probably gonna switch it to half and half.
yeah.
Half.
And then next year you might, okay, this didn't work, let's try something different. Maybe you do all turnips, or hey,
Yep.
let's do all grains here. So it's just, it's fun working on these properties and having ideas, and some ideas work out great, some don't, some are, they fail, so.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not up to you, like my ag field this year, just no rain.
Yeah.
When we got it in the ground, there was no rain.
Yeah, and then with, ag and rain comes water source, so we talked about our earth ponds that we put in.
Yep.
And I tell you what, I had more deer walk up, eat in that clover, but they would walk to that pond first, drink out of it, and then the river's not far away, the creek's right down below it. That stagnant water, they just absolutely loved it.
I had the biggest deer on my farm, hit it daily. Every night, a lot of it was at night, he hit it during the day sometimes, but there is a creek less than 20 yards away, and there is a pond less than 100 yards away. And they would go to this every
It's
single
convenient,
day.
it's out in the open, and the biggest thing I will say, when you put these in, take the time and put them in right.
Level it out.
Make sure it's level, but also, if you can find where you're catching that runoff, and the rain's gonna help keep it full, you can also add some rock structure around it too, to kinda help that silt from going inside, cause when we took mine out, I had some siltation on
Yeah.
the bottom. But unlike that plastic one, we tried digging out with all the silt, and Aaron poked a hole in it.
Right.
Not these fiberglass ones, you're not.
Yeah,
gonna poke a
yeah,
hole
you're
in.
gonna have to try.
Yeah, real hard.
So I've looked at mine and I'm like, I like where it's at. I'm thinking about putting another one in on the other side of the farm. I just something about the amount of, like, their raccoons are always on it. The turkeys were hitting it. Had pictures of
There's-
owls.
There's frogs inside of there.
Always
It's just a little,
ecosystem. It's
Yeah,
its own,
it
its own,
really
its
is.
own little ecosystem,
It's-
and constantly.
them poor frogs though, man, they don't have really too far to go.
Yeah.
When raccoons are in there trying to.
Oh,
find
yeah.
them.
Yep. Every animal that I got, that you would see on a normal basis were in that water.
Yeah, and
Um,
kinda looking back on what we did, that, would have worked, I planted, I think, 5 or 6 apple trees, and then a couple, I did pear trees, and the pears grew the first year awesome. I caged everything, didn't have issues with deer, but if you're gonna do it, I would recommend caging them right away, cause the deer will absolutely just demolish those, and make sure the cages are wide enough. If you're gonna spend money on buying the expensive, 9-foot apple trees, they're 40, $50 a piece, spend the money on T-posts, 2 T-posts each, and then, that welded wire caging, so
Yeah.
nothing can get in there.
Yep, I had 4 smaller apple trees I got earlier in the year, put them in, just didn't have time to get back to them, ignored them. 2 weeks later, I went back and every single one of them was eaten.
Yep.
They were all, and they're dead, and then, so when I bought the bigger ones, I put the cages around them right away, and I need to fix my cages, cause I actually had 2 bucks fighting, and rolled into 2 of them, smashed them down, bent the T, not the full T-post, but they're the bigger garden ones that are 6 feet tall, bent them, and so I had to go in there and like pull them off of the trees
Yeah, yeah, so
and all that,
take,
so.
take the time, and, apple trees, it's a long-term.
Yeah, it's a 5-year investment
At
before you
least,
see yield.
yeah, and you'll get a few tiny apples right away, but I'm definitely do some more pear trees, cause a few of those pears got rather large.
Really? And that's another thing I'll do, because once again, it's just more food. I have a couple other areas, I'm like, well, I can't do anything right here with it.
Yeah,
And I have to start thinking, okay, this isn't just to hunt over, I want that tonnage.
yeah,
And there's certain spots I've had set up where I'm gonna hunt here, and then I just don't. Or it doesn't work out, or it's not as good of a spot that I thought it was gonna be, and you kind of abandon them, but that spot's good for something.
yeah, and eventually you're gonna have these apples, there's a lot of people out there, well, you're in Iowa, we got cedar apple rust. Yeah, there's cedar trees all over. There's a few trees that actually produce it, and you can pick those out, do some research, cut them down, boom.
Right.
I mean, I was planting right next to a bunch of cedar trees, and there's always gonna be something. So,
Yeah.
do your research, find out what that looks like, go in there, cut those cedar trees down. And I think that cedar apples can go like 1 or 2 miles, so plant the trees, hopefully they grow. I mean, there's apple orchards all over Iowa, there's one across the river here, like,
Yeah.
put in the time, put in the effort, reap the reward in a few years, so. It's gonna be fun getting these plots established, you know, we're in the same boat with the switchgrass, we're doing the research, trying to find out exactly what to do and how to do it and when to do it. So that's kind of the big factors when you're getting ready to jump into season. You know, there's things you can do right now, whether it's pull fence or go hinge cut, you know, clear cut, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times this is when all your trails are laid out. I mean,
It's so easy to see in the
and
timber
you can
right now.
see the scrapes, you can see the rubs, you can see the trails, and you can go, okay, maybe just over that ridge, why, that's where all the deer were. Well, I only saw a few deer in this spot. Well, guess what? You go 30 yards over that ridge and it's a mud trail because that's where all the deer were.
Like today, that ridge that I'm gonna turn into a food plot, in the, you know, early summer into fall, you're not gonna be able to see the neighbor's house or the road. So it's gonna be a good little kind of honey hole, but later in the season, it's probably not gonna hold deer there, so.
Yep, it'll be a good rut funnel. They'll come up and through it and scent check it,
Yep.
but you're not gonna be a late season. I'm gonna sit here because the deer are bedded right
And
close.
the biggest thing is if you look on a map, all right, these are where the deer travel, they're coming through here, they're not, you know, necessarily going through this guy's yard, there's a patch of timber here, okay, well, where does that lead? It leads right across the, so it's perfect, you're right, it's a perfect rut funnel to get into my property.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And that's what I was thinking the whole time we're walking there. I'm like, okay. And you're like, well, I'm gonna clear this out for a food plot. And I'm like, okay, I can see it. And then you're looking, you're like, okay, yep, look how this goes through here, and well, this dumps in here. And there's a saddle, you know, they're
Yep,
gonna
come
then,
right through
then you
there.
turn around and there's a rub right there. Like, well, all right.
Yep,
They're here.
it's a good spot, and it's, you know,
Yep.
I didn't know that before season, because I never walked it, and it was just, you know, all the trees and foliage and on the leaves and stuff, just, you don't see that, now you do, so get out and scout. Now, you know, even in spring, when you're out looking for sheds, you're always scouting, you're always, you know, looking for hey, I missed this.
Yep. Yeah, and that's just kind of part of it. I mean, I've hunted some farms for 20 years, and you know, you shed hunt, and why are there no deer here? And then you look, well, this is why.
They're all over here.
They're over on this spot. They abandoned this spot because we had a storm come through, and all these treetops blew down, and there's nothing for them here now. So they had to adjust and go over here. Or, hey, you know, the neighbor, you know, got rid of his ag, and it's now grass. So they're not over here because of the food.
Yeah.
They're here for the bedding.
Or the opposite.
Or the opposite of that. They got rid of the bedding and put a big food plot in.
Yeah.
Now the deer are going over there.
Just, so, my buddy and I planted, well, he planted, I went and kill sprayed and he this and planted beans. This guy's, I think there's 11 acres of standing beans. Every deer in the section is crossing the road to get to his field.
Yep.
Every night.
Yep.
It's insane. So he just changed his property, you know, he doesn't hunt that much. I'm sure when he hunts, he sees deer and a lot of them, but yeah, things like that can change every year. You guys can get up, you know, on Hunt Stand or on the map, and you can kind of see those for your neighbors if you want to, you know,
It's scouting.
kind of spy in, you know, it's a little bit spying, but yeah, it's e-scouting.
Yeah.
And you can go and look at month-to-month variations on Hunt Stand. There's a toggle for that. It's not very clear, but you can see, hey, well, Fred over there, right next door, put in a food plot, and these deer might funnel this way this year, or, you know,
Yep.
you can,
Yeah, and especially if you're hunting smaller parcels, like yours is what? How big?
like 10 acres.
10 acres. Mine's 40. Well, once again, it's just open air. So the deer are going to use it, but you need to blow it up and look at it as maybe even a square mile. You'd be like, okay, this is a giant chunk of timber, and here's the river that goes through and does this, or here's, you know, this is all cattle pasture, but there's one big draw, and this is a big ag field, and you, instead of looking at it as your property, look at it as a whole, and you'll understand a lot more.
You will too, and you can use Google Maps or Google Earth, excuse me, and do like a 3D where you can kind of turn the map and you can see the different layouts and different ridges, and it's really neat.
Yeah.
It really is, and it'll kind of change your thought process and mentality. Like, okay, in the big picture, you're in the rut. I need to get on these ridges. I need to find, a spot that's a funnel, and it'll help you.
Yeah. Yep. And as sooner you find like the idea of your farm, what it is, because some farms are early season farms, some farms are rut funnels.
Yep.
Some farms are great late season.
Like the lease was an early season farm. If I didn't have a deer killed by October 20th, you know what? I'm gonna have to wait till late season.
Yep. Or just hope and pray during the rut that something comes
Yeah,
running
and
by.
it's not just, the farm is changing. When you get in the fall, it's almost week to week. That understory starts to die off. You still got some honeysuckle thickets that carry on into November, to late November. But a lot of the understory in those big open timbers,
Yep.
they just, boom, the deer don't wanna be there.
Yep.
And they're also transitioning to their fall ranges, but that's part of it too.
Right, that's why they're transitioning, is because this certain spot on that particular farm is no longer safe. It's
Yeah.
no longer desirable, whether it be food or cover or does have left. So you always learn. I mean, how many things did you mess up this year that you learned from? I got a couple, and you should. Like,
I messed up a lot, and hunting the area, I should have branched out just because of EHD and blue tongue. It was just,
yeah, and that's a perfect example. Is I don't want to say you're comfortable, but this.
yeah.
Where
this
you know where
area
you hunt.
I've done very well.
It's very, it. So why would you ever leave? And I think you were probably too stubborn. It's probably the right word.
I had tunnel vision on one deer, and I was trying to kill this one deer. He's not that big,
Right.
but he's really cool looking.
Right.
He's got a lot of junk, probably in the 60s, but I literally had one deer out here to hunt.
Okay, and there were no other options, and
Usually there's one or two on each farm that,
Yep.
hey, I'd shoot this deer. or
Yep, this
deer.
one comes by, I'm gonna shoot this one. If this one comes by, I'll shoot that one.
It's gonna be an eye-opening experience come spring when people are out actually shed hunting a lot.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of dead deer,
But there is pockets that, over like one of your other farms where you shot the doe, you can go over there and harvest those because there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
You didn't have those issues like
when
I had.
I shot her the second to last day of the season, and there were 5 giant does that came in,
Yep, there's plenty of deer. The deer herd's doing good over there, so
Yep.
don't gotta worry about that. But other places, you do. So
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, you pick and choose. Like, I had 2 more tags for my personal farm, but since I had no food, it was literally a handful of does. That was it. Like,
Yep.
I mean, I ate my buck tag, and I have no problem doing that.
Yep.
I'm not gonna go shoot something just to shoot it.
This is the first year that I can remember that I've ever ate a buck tag or any sex tag
Yeah, probably.
ever.
Yeah. And I mean, I filled both of my statewide tags, but I had that landowners I didn't fill, and there were a couple deer there was probably 2 deer I would've. One of them got shot by one of the neighbors, and then the other one just wasn't that consistent. But there were 2 other ones I was talking myself into shooting, and I'm glad I didn't have the opportunity.
That's good,
honestly,
yeah.
I'm glad I didn't
Yeah.
have the opportunity, because they're good, solid deer. But let's see what
Yeah,
next year
and
is.
as your farm transforms, it's just gonna get better and better. So.
Yep, I'm excited, and I've walked it a little bit already, and I'm like, okay, yep, this is where I need to have a camera over here.
Yeah.
I mean, there's sections of my farm I didn't even.
And you'll be walking it more now. Shed season is,
Yeah.
they're starting to drop, and I would say 50% of deer, at least that I have on camera, and most of them are, that 2 to 3 to 4 range, have already dropped. 50% right now. It's January
On yours?
13th on all my properties.
Oh, yours. See, mine's completely different. I'm not seeing the deer moving ahead because none of my farms have food right now, and I understand that I'm probably gonna find a handful of sheds and that's it, and I'm fine with that.
Same with me. If I find 10, I'll probably be happy.
Yeah, yep. Unless I go with somebody else on a good farm, I'm probably gonna find that maybe 10 to 15 across the 3 or 4 farms I can hunt, and that's just how it is, and I'm fine with it. But once again, it's like, yep, food. So, I mean, it's getting cold, it's gonna warm up a little bit later this week, but it's still gonna be cold, so I'm getting some bales, getting some feeders back out, and
Yeah,
And
I threw
that's-
out a couple bales and my boss buck 200-pound feeder, and there's quite a few deer. I mean, nothing big, but
yeah, and mine's just, once again, it's for the herd, you know, it's to keep them there. I don't expect to pull in a bunch of bucks and find a bunch of sheds off it this year. I mean, in the future I do. I
Yeah.
100% feel like I will.
yeah.
And it will be a January 10th, bam, I already have the bales, I already have the corn, driving to the farm the next day, I'm gonna be done, so.
Yep. I'm not even gonna fill my 600-pound feeder just because the lack of deer is.
Yeah,
There's some turnips, there's quite a few turnips and they're hitting that, but I'm not gonna, it's expensive. You know, 10 pounds a bag, 12 bags, every time you gotta fill it,
yep,
so.
yep, and I'm gonna order some of the Domain as a supplement that you put in there, and just to mix it with the corn a little bit to get them a little bit healthier and whatnot, get some mineral, fill out the mineral tubs again, and just start all over.
Yep.
It's the 25 season, and that's where, you know, you kill big deer now through summer.
Put in the work,
Put in the work, put
reap
in
the
the
reward.
time.
Unless you get EHD, then, go somewhere else.
Mother Nature has a way of fixing itself, so.
That's right, year of reflecting is come and gone. I'm looking forward to 2025, and, hopefully it's a good one for us.
Yeah, yep. 24 ended really well. Had guys clam some deer at the end
Yeah,
of the season.
we really did have a good year. I mean, we had,
Yeah, I mean, you look back at it.
we did, some guys killed some big deer. We had, you know, our best year yet. We had 4 million views on YouTube. Our subscribers are going up, and, thanks to you editing all those.
Yeah.
Keeping, you know, we edited one today. I think Greg's on it, right?
Yeah, it's live right now.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
definitely be live when this airs.
Yeah,
But
check us out on YouTube, Outdoor X Media.
yeah,
And, if you click subscribe,
appreciate you.
really like that, so.
And yeah, gonna have another booth at the Deer Classic again. So come see us.
We'll be upstairs
upstairs in the main.
by the deer heads,
Yep.
and,
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, we'll have something good to give away, and if not, have apparel there and things like that. And
if you wanna make my day, come and, tell me that you listen to this.
yeah, if you listen to this, if you want to jump on a podcast,
Yep, you got a story to tell? You know,
Yep.
We'll
carrying
be there.
around your big deer, your sheds, you know.
Or if you wanna come see Newt's sheds,
Yep. We'll probably you bringing him too.
yeah, you can take a ride.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. Say hi to all of us, and we look forward to seeing you.
We will have some apparel there, you're gonna make
Yep.
some, we might have some cups.
Yep. We got some tumblers we had somebody make for us. He's they're related to you.
So it's my cousin Stephanie, it's my cousin-in-law Drew,
Yep.
and Stephanie,
Yep. Their company.
they're is it 1219 laser engraving,
I believe so.
That's what
That
it
sounds about right.
so
So yeah, that's pretty cool. Mine's sitting in my truck, so.
there you go. Put some coffee in the morning.
Yep, 100%. So
Alright, thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully we catch you at the Deer Classic, and that'll be here in what,
month
a month?
and a half. Yep.
Yeah.
Soon. I'm
It's
ready
coming.
for it. It's fun. Good times.
It is, hopefully I'll be there all year, or all 3 days this year.
Perfect.
Good Lord willing.